So, as we were saying yesterday, Savitri, both Savitri the poem and Savitri, the Divine Mother's embodiment in the poem, are not meant to be explained and understood by the intellectual mind, least of all through grammar and syntax and all these word meaning. When we try to do that, we create an intellectual structure of thought in which we imprison the deity, much like in temples. We keep the deity's image and we go inside the temple. It's a structure built around the deity. And we are face to face with the deity and we come out and say we had the darshan. But did we really have the darshan? So beautifully Sri Aurobindo in his poem Krishna, there are two poems on Krishna, the sonnet and the critics. The critics, how beautifully he says, he is speaking of Krishna and he starts with, "O immense light, and thou, time and space, whom have you hid? Deathless limbs, gloried face." How can we understand what it means to have deathless limbs? And how he ends up speaking of him. Who is Krishna? Is he just a deity in a temple? Is he the one with the peacock feather and the flute? Yes, these are aspects and symbols of his becoming, of his revelation. But who really is Krishna? How beautifully he says, all he loves, all he moves, all are his, all is he. This the finite mind cannot understand, and it should not. It should dive deep and drown itself into that. That is how poetry is meant to convey, and poetry like Savitri is full of infinite suggestions, layers and layers and levels of meaning, shades, which get automatically, they unfold themselves as we move through this journey. And there is a joy and beauty in this unfolding. Our first understanding may not be and would not be necessarily the perfect understanding. And the best part is when we believe we have perfectly understood, then we have really missed the point. That is how one of the Upanishads puts it. Avijñātam vijanata. He who thinks he knows it not. Because it's infinite. To know it by the mind and to say, I have understood, this is how it is. This word means this, and therefore Sri Aurobindo is trying to say this. This scholastic approach belongs to, as the Upanishad says, to a lower knowledge. It is not the knowledge. It is simply playing with a body of words. But thought nor word can seize eternal truth. From Savitri. Out of sight, out of thought, we must leap up to sight. That sight Sri Aurobindo brings close to us. He conjures up for us an image, and through that image, he gives hints of something which is behind. And that's what we are following. And yesterday we read those magical lines of opulence. He is describing Dyumadsena's hermitage. And he says that there, in an opulent kingdom, full of richness, giving us such a beautiful suggestion and bringing home this truth that there is an inner opulence and an outer opulence. So when we only focus on outer opulence without the inner opulence, then it becomes grotesque, crude, like the Sone ki Lanka of Ravana. But when inner opulence goes with the outer opulence, then it is Dwarka. This is the difference. Both are beautifully made cow. But the Sone ki Lanka has to be burned down because it is inhabited by an asuric consciousness. It is not beautiful. Whereas Dwarka has to be drowned when Krishna leaves, because he knows that without inner opulence, man will misuse this beauty. So inner beauty, inner richness, going with outer beauty and richness is wonderful. But if there is a choice between the two, inner richness and inner opulence is the thing to be had. And the other will come. Even if it doesn't come, the outer is only a means of expression. Even if the outer is lost, one can still retain the inner wealth and richness. This is the beauty of Dumatsena and Satyavan. Satyavan has retained his inner richness, his inner beauty. He has not lost it. Whereas when something outwardly is lost to us, we immediately drag ourselves down to something very low and ugly. Say, world has done this to me, God has done this to me, why should I be good? Sri Aurobindo says, good is not because of something else, but good is for the joy of goodness. Why should I love? Look how I have been mistreated. Love is not for that. Love is for the joy of loving. So this inner richness he refers to. And naturally Savitri, when he sees this in Satyavan, she asks him, what great lineage of kings has watered on which this flower has bloomed called Satyavan? This is another truth. In ancient times, this mother says that this was the way that they maintained the pedigree by within a certain group or lineage. People came together, they brought up children, and this was the way the old world structure was built. So that they maintain and preserve a certain type. But the problem with that was, over down the generations, it became distorted. It became more and more based on physical rather than on inner merits. And also because divine wants in the new creation to bring all the four types of humanity together in every single human being. So now it's a new age, but in those age, it was necessary to maintain the pedigree. It had its advantages that the children remained true to the type. A Kshatriya was born or expected right from childhood to imbibe the qualities of leadership, nobility, courage, strength, sacrifice. A child of a Brahmin from childhood was meant to be one who loved austerity, simplicity, sacrifice to the gods, a seeker of knowledge. This is how it was. But that has gone. However, that truth Sri Aurobindo brings out in Savitri. When Savitri asks Satyavan, page 402, what trunk of kings watered by fortunate streams has flowered at last upon one happy branch? So she asks, what is your lineage? And a few lines below where we had stopped. And Satyavan replied to Savitri. Now the beauty of this dialogue is Savitri tells very little about herself. Next to nothing. We have seen first she says, I am Savitri, princess of Madra. That's it. She doesn't say what I have experienced, realized. And then she lets Satyavan speak out. And Satyavan speaks his heart. Then again she says, tell me more about yourself. And Satyavan replies, in days when yet his sight looked clear on life, King Dumatsena once, the Shalva, reigned through all the tract which from behind these tops, passing its days of emerald delight, in trusting converse with the traveller winds, turns, looking back towards the southern heavens. How beautifully what a richness Satyavan has inside. He could have simply said, well, he is, coming from the lineage of Shalva kings, and his kingdom extends so many square foot by so many yards. But that was not the way. So he says he comes from the lineage of Shalva kings, and beyond these trees, where the winds turn towards the southern seas, up till that ocean is his kingdom. What a lovely way to describe. No, not our physical mind with its physical dimension. He says that's where the kingdom was when he had the sight to see. So he is describing it in terms of sight. That when he had sight, this was his kingdom. And now see this wonderful masterly line. And leans its flank upon the musing hill. So it is described the width and breadth of his kingdom. But equal fate removed her covering hand. So like death, fate is equal. In the sense, it doesn't, we think that, so and so is favored by fate. Maybe today, may not be tomorrow. She is an equal goddess. Somebody who was a chaiwala may become a prime minister. And somebody who was a prime minister may be on the streets. This is a very nice line by an Urdu poet speaking about God. And he says, sometimes I have seen him as an emperor with robe and the scepter in his hand. And sometimes kabhi kaasa liye khada dekha. I have seen him holding the begging bowl in his hands at the doors. And we were speaking about that, how Sri Aurobindo puts it beautifully. Even in rags I am God. Satyavan has realized this truth. That is why he doesn't complain. He doesn't say, you see the beautiful, another place the word adverse will come. He's not using the word adverse fate and cruel fate. He says equal fate removed her covering hand. And what did it do to him? A living night and closed the strong man's paths. Heaven's brilliant gods recall their careless gifts. This is a beautiful way to look at life. He's not saying it snatched away his property. No, nothing is ever ours. It was given and taken back. So the divine gives us, when he gives us, we are hardly thankful. But when he takes, we complain. But wasn't it always his? We came to world, as they say, with empty hands. And he gives. And that is his gift. As long as it is with us, we should use it beautifully. When it is taken away, he had given, he had all the right to it, and he has taken away. So here he says, heaven took away its brilliant gifts. They were heaven's gifts, the kingdom and sight and everything, and heaven has taken it away. Took from blank eyes their glad and helping ray, and led the uncertain goddess from his side. So fate, the uncertain goddess again, has been taken away from his side. So now he is left to grope in the night. But look, the message of the night. What does night? There is a message in the night. What happens when we are surrounded by the living night, which oppresses us from all sides? Outcast from empire of the outer light, lost to the comradeship of seeing men, he sojourns in two solitudes, within and in the solemn rustle of the woods. How beautiful. When night comes, when all the comrades and friends leave our side, when all that we had and possessed is taken away from us, then what we are left with? The joy of solitude. And that is the time, that is the message of the gopis, Krishna taking away their robes, robe of sin and the robe of virtue. How beautifully Sri Aurobindo puts it. And there comes a time when we are all alone. This whole world, nobody stands by our side. Nobody, not a single soul. And it's such a beautiful moment, because that means God says, today I want to meet you all alone. And where will I meet? In the night. Nobody will see us meeting. The world will not know. In the secret chambers of our heart, your heart, I will come and meet you. That's why I have sent this night. No friend and helper will stand by your side. Nobody will say, how are you? But that is the time I'll be there. But instead of that, we end up complaining, look, my friend left away. Look, that cheat, that scoundrel. How foolish. When he is drawing us close. So he says that when the night enclosed, what happened to him? Now he lives surrounded by two solitudes. And again, see the deep suggestion in this line. There are two solitudes. And Sri Aurobindo speaks of it when in the midst of a battlefield and in a crowd, you can feel alone. Then that is the real aloneness, when we can converse with God. But when we are only thinking of outer solitude, but inwardly we are crowded with all the fancies, desires, thoughts and everything, then that solitude has no meaning. It only makes us, there is a nervous breakdown, that's all. People withdraw into outer solitude and they believe they are becoming like Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo carried multitudes. In that solitude, he was conversing with the gods, battling with the titans, holding the world's fate in his hands, walking on the battlefields all over the world, and at the same time answering to all the disciples. Where was the solitude? And yet, he alone knew what solitude is. And that is solitude. Krishna in the battlefield, unarmed, alone, sitting on the chariot of Arjuna, but directing the whole play. Beautifully they summed up Mahabharata yesterday. When Gandhari curses it was the last episode, Gandhari curses Krishna and Krishna says, I can feel your pain because every pain in the battlefield was my pain. The victory is mine and the defeat is mine. Every joy was mine and every pain was mine. This is the true solitude when one has entered into the cosmic consciousness and beyond. So he says that this is the solitude in which Dhimatsena lives. Son of that king, look now he is proud about it. He is not just saying, oh my father, poor fellow. Son of that king, I, Satyavan, have lived contented, for not yet of thee aware. Now this is like another magical line, like that line, I am Savitri, princess of Madra. Look at the power of this line. I have lived contented. I had no issues that wealth is taken away, kingdom is taken away. But now I am discontented. Why? Because you have come into my life. This is divine discontent. And when it seizes upon the soul, then nothing can satisfy. However much he may seek and get the world. Sri Aurobindo writes that beautifully in his poem Dreamboat, that how the gold god comes on a boat of fire and asks him, do you come now? Is your heart's fire ready? And he says, I started weighing the options and what I will lose, what I will gain. And the dream boat vanished and the gold god passed away. And then he says, what happens now? Now I am left with a strange feeling. I have the world, but nothing tastes sweet to me. I no more enjoy it. It is there, but I don't enjoy it. At the same time, I seek, oh, when will that gold god come again? When will he come again? And I keep waiting for the dream boat and the gold god come not. So this is how the glimpse of the divine, when Savitri comes into Satyavan's life, when once a soul has been touched by a glimpse of the divine, whatever it may try, at one place mother says that if you turn to the divine saying, I am yours, and the divine has said yes, the whole world cannot keep you away. In fact, one will feel like rushing again and again because one cannot be content. That is a beauty. That's a wonderful discontent. So Satyavan says, I was very happy and content till Mother, thou have come in my life. And that's how the evolution starts. If we are very content, then we don't want to change. Oh, I am very good just as I am. But the divine makes us aware that it's, there's so much to be changed. So he says, in my high-peopled loneliness of spirit and this huge vital murmur kin to me, nursed by the vastness, pupil of solitude. So he is living surrounded by the universal life all around. It's a great teacher. In solitude, he says, who was my master and teacher? Solitude. So how does solitude teach? There are no words, nothing speaks, but solitude nurses the soul, and as it grows, reveals the sense from within. That is why people in the forest used to go, and the whole Upanishads is built along that line, because Upanishads means two things, at the feet of the master or the truth of the inner being. And then we had the Aranyaks, forest dwellers. So people went into the forest, and whenever they would ask a guru, tell me about truth, he would say, reflect within. No, they would reflect and the truth would dawn. Because in solitude, it dawns from within. So he says, I am nurse, I am the pupil of solitude. Just like Aruni Uddalak in the Upanishad, who is sent to the forest and he gets Brahmagyana. So when we have that inner quietude, everything speaks to us. A child will speak to us. A angry man will speak to us. A rabid dog will speak to us. The blue sky will speak to us. The emerald sea will speak to us. The sharks and the whales and the small fishes will all speak to us and show us some aspect of divine reality, because we are seeking it. So through all this, the divine will speak. Great nature came to her recovered child. So along with that, solitude is the father, and his way is to let things develop within. And who took care of me? Great nature, Mother Earth. She came, she took care of me, everything she provided. I reigned in a kingdom of a nobler kind. Now he is making it even more clear that don't think I am a loser. People often say, oh, I am a loser, I lost my job, I lost this. I am not a loser, I am a gainer. I lost that kingdom and I gained a much richer kingdom, something much nobler. People don't know what they lose when they don't turn to the divine. So, there is a story of a rich man who goes to a hermit. He has been donating a lot of money and feels very proud about it. And he bowed down before the hermit and said, you are great. So hermit said, no, you are great. So suddenly he feels very puffed up in front of the whole audience. He is saying, you are great. So he says, sir, did I hear it right? Yes, my child, you heard it right. You are greater than me. So now he is wanting everybody to hear it, sir. He thinks because I give a lot of money, so he wants everybody to know this because he is not supposed to say it. So he said, sir, can you explain? So he says, very simple. What have I renounced? I have renounced a life of pain, suffering, evil, ugliness for the riches of God's beauty, love, light. So I have left something very inferior for something superior. But what have you renounced? You have such a wonderful opportunity to give yourself to the divine, but you are renouncing this and you are continuing to live in that life of ugliness, sloth, slumber, pain. So you are renouncing something much more precious. I am renouncing tinsels for gold and diamond, but you are renouncing gold and diamond for mud and mire. So obviously you are a greater renunciate and therefore you are greater. And then poor fellow understood that, my God, it is not about giving money but giving myself. So here he says, I have lived in a kingdom of a nobler kind than men can build upon dull matter soil. What is that kingdom? That is nothing. I met the frankness of the primal earth. I enjoyed the intimacy of infant God. See how beautifully he puts it. Frankness of primal earth. This itself is again many shades of suggestion. What is a king surrounded by? Everybody who flatters. That's why the worst place to be is in a position of authority and power. Because already human beings are deluded, believing they are great. When you are in a position of authority and power, you will be doubly surrounded by people who will flatter you. And you will think, oh, I must be great. And there will be an abyss being dug deeper and deeper instead of... So it's a curse very often to be in that position. It's not a big grace of God. You have to be so much more careful that this doesn't go into the head. Because one is surrounded by flatterers. But primal earth, it doesn't do that. You may be king. You may believe you are great. Fall on a rock and you will break your bone. Frankness. It tells you, look, you are weak, you are hurt. And if you are strong, you will not be hurt. You may say, I am very strong. Stand out in the rain and see. Oh, I am very diligent every day. Every day, regularly, I go to the ashram and do my work. One cyclone comes, that is the time you are tested. How much sincere you are and how much you are. When everything is normal, everything is wonderful. So nature and the primal earth, it will not go by, it will not flatter us. It will test us. We may say we are fearless and court jesters may say, oh king, you are the most fearless person. And all the flatterers will say, you are the most courageous king. And how will primal earth show us with a frankness? Suddenly a lion, or why lion? A scorpion will come near us and test our fearlessness. And it will know, look what you are. Frankness of the primal earth. It doesn't lie. It tells the truth and shows us the mirror. So here he says, I have lived in that. I enjoyed the intimacy of infant God in the great tapestried. So this is the infant God, the material earth. So like in every infant, it tells you the truth. In the great tapestried chambers of her state, marvelous line, free in her boundless palace I have dwelt. My king had a limit to his kingdom, but I live in a limitless palace. This is the boon given to few. Narada is given this boon because he loves the Lord. So Narada has this boon, wherever you want you can go, free will. So people have unfortunately put it as a curse. It's the greatest boon. There is no restriction for him because everywhere there is the Lord, and since he loves the Lord, everywhere he can go. That's the logic. Every place is his place. In one of the prayers, Mother says that he who loves thee is comfortable everywhere because everywhere he finds you. Everywhere the divine is there. Someone asked the mother this question, Mother, when I am in the ashram, I feel you and everything is very nice. But when I leave the ashram and go far, I lose that contact. What should I do to build the bridge? Beautiful question. The mother says, you are the bridge. See this? You are the bridge. Heal the division and you will find her everywhere. Where is she not? And when we find her everywhere, every house is our house. Of course, it has a flip side also. Like somebody was telling me, somebody entered someone's house and would not leave it. So he said, look, you took it on rent and now you, no, it is all mother's house. Or just now I met a person who is sitting in front of Sri Aurobindo's door. So everybody is trying to tell her, please, this is not the place to sit. No. I have an inner command to sit here. Who are you? Finished. Now, that's obviously confusion. But the inner sense that everywhere she is there. So he says that I have lived in a palace without walls. It is not a palace with, walls. It is a boundless palace, all earth, indulged by the warm mother of us all, reared with my natural brothers in her house. Natural brothers. The winds, the sky, the sun, the creatures of the soil, the sky, the birds, all these are kin to us. I have lived with them. I lay in the wide, bare embrace of heaven. So what blanket you used to use? Did you have a nice blanket? So there are people, philanthropists, who love to give blankets and good food and snatch away from them the joy of simplicity and put in their heads the desire for more without realizing. It's not that one should not give blanket if one is moved, but to make that a profession and a way of life and to feel puffed up. One should also understand that there are people who live in that simplicity and they have a great joy. Whose embrace? The embrace of heaven. A lot of people here would connect. I mean, as a child, remember very little electricity in my little village, or little more than village, whatever it is. So, most of the time you would sleep outside, especially in the summers. So when you sleep outside, no fan, nothing, and you look up and you see a star-studded sky. It's such a joy to see that. So there is an embrace of heaven which covers you. Of course you take a chadar or something, but it's such a joy. The embrace of heaven. So Satyavan says, I have lived in that embrace. I didn't have roof, but I had something much more than that. The sunlight's radiant blessing clasped my brow. Who woke me up? My dad was blind. My mother was busy carrying him. Every day the sunlight would come and kiss me on my brows. And I'll wake up and say, good morning. What a way to wake up. Not with the alarm clock. The moonbeam's silver ecstasy at night kissed my dim lids to sleep. Earth's morns were mine. So who kissed me good night? The moonlight will kiss me good night, and the sunlight will kiss me good morning. What a lovely way to enjoy the divine creation and to live life. Lured by faint murmurings with the green robed hours. And early morning, instead of alarm clock, there was a nice little music. And that music would wake me up. What was the music? There is a stream nearby, and as it was running, early morning with the winds, as the winds change direction, the stream also begins to, make sound in a certain way. I would wake up. It's my morning alarm. So murmuring. I wandered lost in woods, prone to the voice of winds and waters, partner of the sun's joy. And when I walked alone, who showed me direction? The winds and the waters. And the sun was my friend, just as the winds and waters are his friends. And therefore, with that joy, I was walking. A listener, now this is another marvelous line. A listener to the universal speech. My spirit satisfied within me knew, godlike our birthright, luxuried our life, whose close belongings are the earth and skies. Vedas are not something in a book. That is only 1% of the Vedas. Vedas are written in every leaf and stone, in rivers, in trees, in the green of the earth, in the blue of the sky, in the murmur of the winds, there is Veda. And he who feels and experiences the inner solitude can hear this universal speech. The Vedas whisper in the cry of the bird. That is the story of Satyakam. He gets Brahmagyana simply by the act of nurturing the cows, raising them from 100 to 400 in the forest. Everything speaks to him. The cow, the fire, the trees, the well, the water, everything speaks to him. Because this whole creation is a symbol of the divine. So he also says, I have heard the universal speech, and what it has taught me a great truth. Godlike our birthright, luxuried our life. Nobody is an orphan. Everybody, every soul when it is born on earth is given a certain birthright. What is that birthright? To be as God, godlike. What does God claim and possess? Earth and the skies. But we want to have limited things. A small house, a nice little ashiana, and feel, this is mine. But this luxury we lose. God like our birthright. That is the story of, Pandavas. They were born in the forest. They grew up in the forest. And what they learnt in the process, they lost their father as a young child. But what they learnt in the forest is that this is the first kingdom and nobody can take that away from you. That's why they could easily renounce a kingdom and walk away. It's okay, fine. You take away this kingdom, I have another kingdom. It's only later on Krishna says, not for kingdom that you fight, but something else for dharma. And Karna, again, abandoned. But he takes it differently. This is the difference. Karna doesn't realize that he had a birthright. What is the birthright that he loses? He exchanges it for just being a king of a small little kingdom. That is why he loses that kinship to the sun. Whereas Pandavas know it, that this is our birthright. Even if we are driven away from palaces, the earth and the sky are ours. So this is the luxury of life. We lose it and then have the air conditioner. Whose close belongings are the earth and skies. Before fate led me into this emerald world. So again, very beautifully, he's not defining it as adverse fate. Fate is leading me. I was maybe born as a baby in palace, but it has led me to this emerald world, beautiful world, God snatched this kingdom but has given me something much greater. Aroused by some foreshadowing touch within, an early prescience in my mind approached the great dumb animal consciousness of earth, now grown so close to me, who have left old palms to live in this grandiose murmur, dim and vast. Because I was abandoned, if one may use the paradoxical word, to Mother Nature, I became friendly to all the beasts. And like an instinct, animal gets knowledge. It's very strange. There are scientists who study the life of an ant and they write books on ants. There are seminars on how monkeys do this and how monkeys communicate, and dolphins, how they speak to each other. But the interesting part is, dolphins don't have a book for themselves. This is our speech. Human beings are taught grammar in school. Dolphins don't. They are not taught. And they communicate with perfection and precision. It is well known. And with that perfection and precision, they can navigate thousands of miles without those high grid navigational system, despite which, aircrafts miss the mark. But they navigate by an inner knowledge, which is like an instinct. It is a kind of knowledge, it's the same knowledge, but clothing itself in the vital world for its own necessities. So like an animal, nobody tells me what has good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. I know it. So if somebody went to Satyavan and showed, do you know, Satyavan, what is healthy food? He said, please don't confuse my mind. I know it, and know it much better than you guys. Why? Because I have lived with this animal creation and know what I should eat and what I should not eat. Do you know what disease you may be suffering? Don't give names. I know how to heal myself. I don't need to know what disease, their names and complicated medicines, because nature has grown me in this way. Like the animal heals itself, I know how to heal myself. But one day you will die. Yes, I know how to embrace it gracefully, as an animal embraces death. It doesn't make fuss about it. Oh, I am dying, miserable, poor creature, alone. My children don't look after me. People have left me away. I made a will and the fellow has run away. Animals don't go through that kind of a misery as we go through, because the mind is there. So that's why he says the animal consciousness. So he has been trained and taught many things. An early prescience. So it's the hint and glimpse of an intuition. Early prescience, kind of a foreknowledge. So by instinct he knows what he should do, what he should not do, what he should eat, he should not eat. Then something still further. Already I met her in my spirit's dream, as if to a deeper country of the soul, transposing the vivid imagery of earth through an inner seeing and sense, awakening came. So this goddess, this intuition which came to me like a prescience in contact with the animal creation, she has also led me in my dream worlds. Through the symbol images of earth, she teaches me where to go, how to go. So every time I see a dream that I am climbing on the mountain, I know that my soul must make an ascent further. Every time I see in the dream that I have fallen down and broken my leg, I understand what it means, because I know the language of the earth and therefore I know the language of the dream. And the same goddess who has taught me, given me this prescience to live my life, to survive, has also given me how to progress, how to go further through an inner world and its dream imageries. A visioned spell pursued my boyhood's hours. All things the eye had caught in colored lines were seen anew through the interpreting mind, and in the shape it sought to seize the soul. So this is the beauty when we are not corrupted and polluted by the intellectual, analytical, mental consciousnness. Now, he has developed the interpreting mind. This interpreting mind is through an intuition. So when he sees Kailash, he says, this is Shiva's abode. But to a strictly intellectual, scientific mind, where is Shiva? Where is Shiva? This is just a block of ice. But he knows how to see and feel that image. Because through the image he can go to the reality. But when the mind, physical mind comes in, it takes away that reality and only the image remains. That's why for us Ganga is Ma, who purifies. That's why every Indian connects with a statement which the Prime Minister made, that Mother Ganges has called me. It typically, analytical mind will say, oh, this is rhetoric, empty rhetoric. What mother? She's a river, okay, you have to clean her. Why call her mother has called me and all these big words? But an Indian heart connects with it. And those who are simple, they connect very fast, very beautifully, because they know it. Yes, what it means to hear the call of the Ganges. What it means when people say that Himalayas have called me or the oceans have called me. They understand. They don't say, oh, how can an ocean call? How can the Himalayas call? There is that call. There is through the image one sees that which the image contains. An early child god took my hand that held, moved, guided by the seeking of his touch, bright forms and hues which fled across his sight, limned upon page and stone they spoke to men. So, stone spoke to me. They showed me what it contains. Every time I saw the mountain, I felt inspired to be austere, even in solitude, to stand erect and lonely like a mass of power and strength. Who taught me asceticism? The mountains taught me asceticism. They taught me how to live an ascetic life. Who taught me abundance? The earth and its greenery taught me abundance. Who taught me oneness? The forest taught me oneness. Where I saw different varieties of trees, animals, everybody is held together with Mother Earth. Mother Earth doesn't say, I don't want the snake, I don't want the scorpion. Out you go. The ocean doesn't say that I will have only nice little fishes, not sharks. It is a place for the shark, it is a place for the whale, a place for the dolphin, a place for the little fishes. And each one is eating and being preyed upon, and eater eating, himself is eaten. And all are eventually being swallowed back by Mother Nature and offered to the Supreme. And once again the cycle comes back. So this is the wonder of creation, that all Veda is there. And Satyavan has read the Vedas without reading a book. High beauties, visitants, my intimates were. Who came to visit me? Oh, what beautiful beings. Normally we associate beauty in a very limited way. Oh, so and so is so beautiful. There is so much beauty in nature that we miss. So what is that beauty? The neighing pride of rapid life that roams, wind-maned through our pastures. On my seeing mood, cast shapes of swiftness, trooping spotted deer. So every time I saw a horse with the manes running across the plains, or a deer jumping through, it filled my heart with the beauty of swiftness. And it showed me something, some truth that is hidden behind creation. Against the vesper sky became a song of evening to the silence of my soul. So it was like a song every evening when I saw it. They sang to me of beauty, of swiftness, of the march of the soul. This is how it should move across life. So we have a second session. Don't feel like stopping because such a beautiful canto. So we'll stop here, come back after 10 minutes and continue again.